Hello everyone, thank you for joining me as we are creating configuring resources inside of Azure with Azure Cloud Shell. Check out the description for the resource links, and if you like what you see, like, subscribe, and share. Comments are welcome, and if you've got something that you want to see, leave that in the comments as well. All right, here we are everybody on my Windows desktop, and I'm logged into the Azure admin portal. Before we dive into launching a terminal and connecting to Azure with Azure Cloud Shell, I want you to know that we could also do this right here in the web portal just by clicking the little icon here for Cloud Shell. And if you haven't launched this up before, then what it's going to ask you to do essentially is create a storage account so that you can use the environment. And you have the ability to choose which environment you want, whether it happens to be Bash or if it happens to be PowerShell like I'm in right now. So we could do something like git child item here, and I could look at the contents of where I'm at in the directory. If I switch to Bash, then you'll have a pretty much a native Bash environment, and you can run your typical Bash commands as well. So again, keeping that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the PowerShell environment and see how it builds, connects to, authenticates against Azure and builds the environment for me. Well, we want to do that same thing, but what we want to do is we want to do this locally. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And then we're going to go ahead and launch into our terminal by right-clicking on our start icon, choosing Terminal Admin, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Yes to the user account control. And let's go ahead and let's take a look at how we can get this set up. Now, depending on, yours might look a little bit different than mine, depending on what environments you have set up. Again, you have these native environments. PowerShell 7.0 you can install, but I also have the Windows subsystem for Linux. Keep in mind that I also have a video on how you can basically enable the Windows subsystem for Linux and get this environment set up. Check it out. If you want to have one that it's really guided through with voice, I can redo that one, and we can check that out as well. Just make sure that if you want something like that, just put it in the comments below. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to choose the down arrow, and what I'm going to zoom in on here real quick is the Azure Cloud Shell right here. We're going to launch this, and then there's going to be a couple of things that we have to do here. It's going to ask us to sign in to authenticate. So I'm going to right click, and I'm actually going to select that value here, and then it's going to ask you to click this link. All right, and it's asking me to put in the information here. I think there's a blank character I got to take out. Yeah, we'll choose next. And then it's going to ask me how I want to authenticate, and it's asking me, are you trying to sign in via the Windows terminal? And it says that we've signed in. So now when we come back here, it's asking me which tenant do I want to connect to, and it wants you to enter the number of the tenant. I'll do it a couple of times here. Then it asks me if I want to save these connections for future logins. I'm going to go ahead and say yes for now, because just in case we need to come back, I don't have to re-authenticate. It's not so pleasant on the eyes when you have to keep re-authenticating during a demonstration. But keep in mind, that does lead to security compromises if somebody gains access to your computer. So one of the first things I'm going to do is kind of clear the screen here. Oops, if I can spell clear, I will clear this screen. I'm going to torture you all with my wonderful typing abilities here. Kind of zoom in here, and the first thing that we're going to do is create a resource group. Now, when we create a resource group, what we're going to do is we're going to enter in the following commandlet. Notice that it's new-az resource group space and a dash name. Solution 02 is what I'm going to call this, and the location, we're going to put it in the East US region, and then we're going to hit enter. Now, if it is succeeded, this is the kind of message that you should get. I'm going to go ahead. We see that we do have a resource group here. I'm going to clear the screen again, and we'll move into the next portion of this, right? So we've created our resource group for our solution, which in this case is going to be a virtual network. The next command or commandlet that we're going to run is the following. We're going to run new-az virtual network space dash resource group name, and we're going to point it back to the resource group that we just created, which is solution 02. Then a dash location, and we're going to, where was that resource group? That's in the East US region. Then the name of our VNet is going to be solution02-VNet01, and we're going to give it an address space or dash address prefix. And the address space is going to be 192.168.0.0 with a /16 or a Class B default subnet mask. And we'll go ahead and run this. Now, before I do run this, notice that it's also saying, hey, you want to put your subnets here? I'll tell you, if you put your subnets here, then you can define them inline, and you don't have to run a commandlet called set az virtual network, which you're going to see come up. But I'm not going to do them here because I want to show you how you can run the commandlet to configure your individual subnet. So we'll go ahead. We're going to run this. And here we go. We see that it has succeeded. So we have our resource group that we created earlier, and now inside of that resource group we have a virtual network, a VNet, and we can see the region that it's currently in. Now let me go ahead, clear the screen again for the next commandlet, because now what we're going to do is we're going to create some subnets. And when it comes to creating subnets, we're going to run kind of a long commandlet. We're going to run add virtual, or it's add-az virtual network subnet config. Then we're going to do a space and a dash name, and we're going to name it what the subnet is. That's production for me. Then we're going to connect it to the specific virtual network that we just created. So we're going to run dash virtual network, and then in parenthesis we're going to use the get dash az virtual network commandlet to connect to our VNet. So we'll run that, we'll add that, and then a space, resource group name, and again it's that solution 02 that we created, and inside of that resource group is our VNet, so it's a space dash name solution 02-VNet-01. All right, so that is the first part of it, and then we have to add the dash address prefix, and we'll go ahead and make this subnet the first range within that address space. So I'm going to give it a 192.168.0.0/24, and here's what I was talking about earlier. Then we're going to pipe that out to the set-az virtual network commandlet. If you do this while you're creating the virtual network and you want to define multiple subnets, you can, and you don't have to run this commandlet. However, if you are going to add the subnets after the fact, you do have to pipe it out to set-az virtual network. We're going to go ahead and run this. And we'll give it a second. Sometimes it takes a second to create it, but you can now see that we've got a resource group here. We've got still our subnet, and I'll show you how we can verify our subnet configuration here in a bit, because I know it's not showing that information yet. Now, for me, what I do is I just go back and I rerun the same exact commandlet. And in this case, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be running multiple instances of this commandlet, and I'm going to do that because what I want to do is ensure that I have, the same exact syntax, but I don't have to type the whole thing. What I can do is just change the IP addresses and the name of the subnet, and it makes it easy to just kind of rerun this command. So let's go ahead, we're going to clear our screen here. And let's go ahead and create that second subnet. So what we're going to do, again, just running the same exact command, right? So I'm not going to, torture you by calling it out again, but focus in on what we really changed here, right? We changed the name of the subnet, and now I've given it the second address space with it, or address range, if you will, inside of the address space that we configured for the virtual network. And we're going to go ahead and run this, and you're going to see, again, it takes a little bit. I've had sometimes where it's actually, I thought the interface is locked up. So if it does take a little bit, just keep that in mind. It might just take, it might be just a little bit of latency. So we're going to rerun that same exact commandlet again. And again, this isn't really too difficult, because if you focus in here, right, we're using the same configuration. but we're changing the name of the subnet again here. Oops, let me get back out of there. Sorry about that. And you can see that we've changed this to be the third subnet and network range here inside of our address space. So we'll go ahead and let's run this. So far we've created a resource group, we've created a virtual network, we've created 3 different subnets. Now, one of the things I told you is that there is a way that we can view those subnets, and we can see more, because see, this doesn't really tell us much, right? So it's like, well, thank you, I appreciate you telling me this, but oops, that is not what we want. But there is a commandlet essentially that you can run, and it allows us the ability to, that's going to fail on me, I'm typing the wrong thing here. Let me go ahead and clear that out. All right, and then we're going to run something known as get-az virtual network, and you can see dash resource group name. We're pointing it to the resource group, the virtual network, again, dash name, and then the virtual network name. Then we're piping that out to get-az virtual network subnet config. And then finally, this last part here, you do not have to do. You can leave it as you want, but you can also choose to pipe this out to format table, and then you can define the way you want the columns to be. You could also shorten this too. You could do FT and then name, address, prefix, and that would do the same thing, format table. But it gives you a way that inside of the browser, or not the browser, excuse me, the terminal, you can see that information and verify that you have configured it right. So you've seen that we've done some configuration and really created some of our resources and then configured them after the fact, for instance, adding subnets to a virtual network. One of the last things I kind of want to show you is how you can take the virtual network, right, and we can add a little bit of security to it. And what we need to do here is create a distributed denial of service protection plan. So we're going to run new-az DDoS Protection Plan, all one word. And then a space, again, we're going to name the resource group. Where is it at? So resource group name space solution 02. And then the location is in the East US region. And the name, we're going to call this solution 02 dash DDoS dash plan, right? Keep it simple here for me. And we'll go ahead and we will run that. Now, if that succeeds, what it should do is create us a denial of service protection plan that we can then attach to our virtual network, right? So we do see that, yes, we've got a DDoS protection plan. Tell you what, let's go ahead and let's hop back over to the web portal here. So let me get back out of the authentication screen and let's go to resource group and let's kind of take a look at what we've configured or created and configured. So notice we have our solutions 02 resource group right here. If I select that, I'm going to go ahead and hide this blade right here. We don't really need that. Notice, well, there's our DDoS protection plan, so that's good. That was created. Here is our virtual network, and you can see the name of it is how we configured it via the CLI. All right, so I now have my VNet here, and we can see things, for instance, like the address space and subnets, because that's really what we have configured here. So notice that we have that address space that we configured. That's the 192.168.0.0/16. So that is correct. We go down to subnets. You can see that here are our subnets. And we can see production, staging, and dev here. Kind of move these out, and then you can see the address ranges for our subnets. Now, remember, we connected, or created, I should say, a DDoS protection plan. So in here now, I can go to DDoS protection plan, and I could choose enable, and then I can choose the protection plan. Now, you could have just created it here with the hyperlink, but that wouldn't really make much sense in a video on the CLI. But notice that the protection plan that we created is there. I can select it. Once it's selected, let me back out of here and show you. I can choose then to save this. And if we've done this correctly, it will give us the DDoS Protection Plan. We should be able to come back up to the overview and we can see some of the different properties, including the protection plan. Little tile here in our dashboard, we can see that we have DDoS protection here, at least the basic protection. So there you have it. A pretty straightforward process and how you can interact with the Azure platform locally. And remember, you can do this in the web browser too through the Cloud Shell. But there you have it. You know, if you've liked what you see here, as always, please give this a like, maybe a share, a comment down there. Maybe even tell me in the comments some content that you would like to see. As always, thank you so much for watching.